Hello, my name is Bob Whalen, and today I'm going to be talking about the integration between Unicast and Smartware. The first phase of that was done last week, and we want to demonstrate the results. Where we focused on is the synchronization of the database of beacons between the two systems and also posting transition data into Unicast customer-specific data sets. So those transitions basically are enters, exit, dwells, hovers, connects, and disconnects. Um, so let's start off by opening up the user interfaces for both Unicast and for Smartware. So here is the Unicast login. This happens to be pointing at the Unicast sandbox system. So we have an account over there that we use for the integration. I'm going to go ahead and log in as me on that system. And what we're going to see here is the dashboard. So we can see here that there's already 7 sensors showing up here in the UI. If you drill down, you'll see, or go down, you'll see here are tags that we have associated with those various beacons. And farther down, we'll see a list of the beacons. You can see that there's 7 sensors currently, which are basically beacons. If we drill in and browse to them, we will see the provider ID basically is an indicator of type, and the ID, it's a beacon. We can drill into the specific details of a given beacon. We're going to see things like the tags that are associated with that beacon and its name. So what we really want to show is how this actually works. So let's go back to the Smartware dashboard. We created an account on our sandbox system for Unicast for this integration purposes, and we're going to go ahead and log into that account. And we don't have time to go through our whole UI, but we'll come specifically to deployment, and we have something called a trigger map here, which basically shows you where the beacons and geofences and Wi-Fi networks are associated in the account. You can see here the 7 beacons as well as a few geofences. We're not yet synchronizing geofences. That's part of phase 2. But let's go look at specifically at the list of beacons. You can see these 7 beacons here. These are the IDs, the same ones that will match in the Unicast environment. The name, let's drill into one of them. You can see things like the UUID and major and minor, things like the dwell time that's associated with it, and where the beacon is physically located. You can also see a set of name value pair attributes that are associated with this particular beacon, and those are passed through the API as part of Unicast tagging system. So what we really want to show is what happens if we go ahead and add a new geofence, or a new beacon rather. So let's go in and add, and oh wait, I don't have a UUID, I don't want to type that in. Let's go grab one. Copy that, and let's go back and add a new beacon. And we're going to call this Unicast in Oslo, and put in the UUID, major, minor. We're going to go ahead and set a dwell time of 2 minutes. And we're going to set a hover time of 60 seconds. We're going to add it to a group that we've already created called Unicast Oslo. And then let's go ahead and set the location. So we'll just go ahead and find Unicast in Oslo. Pick that. Hopefully that's the right spot. And let's go ahead and add it to the system. So we've just added it to the system, but we should immediately be able to go back to Unicast, and let's refresh the dashboard here. I'm going to make sure it gets refreshed. You can see that sensor in their tag report. Let's scale this back out, and we should see a tag now showing up over in Oslo, and we do click on it. Yes, Unicast Oslo. So you can basically see as we drill down into this that the beacon was sent to the Unicast system through the API. But let's just see what happens if we come back and update a beacon. So let's come back into this beacon and add some name value pair attributes to it, or effectively tags. Let's set a location ID And let's just set something. Let's just call it location type. If I can type. Okay, and location type of HQ. Okay, and while we're here, let's go ahead and change the name. So let's add engineering to this, and let's go ahead and hit update. Okay, now pretty much by the time we've done this, our batch scripting have already run. If we go back to our dashboard, we can see, yep, it's already changed to Unicast Oslo Engineering. And if we look at the details, you can see the new tags that have been added to the system. So basically, in a nutshell, that is the integration of the beacons. You can see here, again, the tagging for the overall group of beacons. And now basically what we want to show is what's really happening on the Smartware system. So if we go into our admin tab, there's an item in the admin tab called batch queue. And this is really, we have batch processing that takes the data as you updates in our system and sends them to a process that is being used for updating Unicast. So there was a script name that we used. This is the data that's being sent to Unicast in the response. There's a area of parameters. This is the data that's coming into our system, and you can just see. So here are some different interactions that we've had for updates and inserts into the system. So this is the scripting process. This is really designed for people who are designing the integration. So here's a different script that's doing interaction. So the system sync job is doing the beacon synchronization. This interaction script is actually showing you where we're sending transition data to Unicast. You can see the responses from the Unicast system with their interaction IDs that are returning. And this is a great way to be able to have a visibility into what's going on in the system. One thing about interactions, though, is there really isn't anything in the UI to be able to see it. So one of the things we did is we used our package system to be able to add this new menu tab to our system. It currently has only one item on it, which is a home page. That home page has one widget on it, which we built for this, which is which returns an API from Unicast, getting the latest interactions. We've built that into a widget. That widget can be deeply integrated into our system, so it's actually combining the data we're getting back from Unicast with our database to be able to show you things like these hovering capability to show you the different, drilling into the database and showing data there. It's super easy to build widgets. We look to be able to add things to this as we packetize this. One of the things we can do is turn one of these these sets of scripts into a package that customers can just simply install. And now basically we're going to show really what's involved in making all of this work. So this is kind of the geek part of it. But basically we have an interface for building scripts. Scripts that are defined under a hook directory will automatically get called if they're named properly. This one's called sync. It will automatically take things that are for in this case we've said take things that are for the payload table or for the beacons table and pass it to a job called system sync job. That was the part that we were showing a moment ago. These hooks are in our critical path, so there's very little you can do with them. Basically, in this case, you're enabling to say, we want this interaction payload to be sent to this interactions script. So if we actually look at the batch scripts that take that data and process it, then here's the synchronization script. Basically, we've just set up some variables that we need to be able to talk to the Unicast API. Here, we're just checking to see that, yes, this is an update to the beacon database. So we want to go get some parameters that we have available to us for that particular beacon, and we're going to set up the variables that we need to call the Unicast API. And we're going to build those into an array. So here you can see all the things that Unicast API is looking for. We're adding an empty array of tags to this, and then we're going off to our name value pair database for that beacon and grabbing all the name value pairs. We're going to iterate through those and add those in this syntax to that tag list. We're encoding the JSON. Here you can see basically a REST API being called, passing in the data. There's different endpoints that we're hitting based on inserts, updates, or deletes. And you can see here it's pretty simple just to call our REST endpoints. And here we're just spitting out the result. And that's really just so you can see this data in the batch viewer when it comes through. If we go look at interactions, we're passing in some basic data again, setting up a app name and version, creating an empty Java object, actually not completely empty as data sets, but empty array of interactions. We're taking the payload of data that was sent in through the device, and we're iterating through each of the records in that payload. Here, the only types of records that we're sending are what we call transitions. So again, that's enter, exit, dwell, hover, connect or disconnect. We're not sending things like installs, we're not sending opens, we're not sending impressions or clicks, but hopefully we'll do that in the next update to the system. Now we go through and grab different data, duration, other things from the system. We format the data in a way that the Unicast API is looking for it, build out and add each of those. As we loop through each of those, we add them to the interactions array. And as long as there are more than one type 5 that came through in this batch of interactions, we go ahead and post it to the Unicast API. Very simple to do. And we output the results there. If none of them happen to be, so for example, if they were all installs or impressions or clicks and there weren't any type 5s, then you would just get that message. So you see something in the UI as it goes through. And that's really it. It's super simple to be able to build integrations into Smartwhere. One other point here. This shows you how you can take the system, and this is basically all you had to do to add that new menu item into the system was to drop in this JSON and different names do different things. So this is navigation. You can do it by user. You can add things throughout the interface, but we won't get into all that at the moment. And that's really the initial implementation. We're looking forward to being able